Audio. All right, here we go. Load anybody who's already here. Oh, that number is usually going to be small. Just get everything set up. Live, that's synced. That's muted. All right, and Epic Pen is functioning. All right, we're going to wait a minute or two for people to start showing up. But if anyone's already here, this is going to be likely a shorter one this time, as it's later than I would normally start this, and I really wasn't actually feeling it, but I kind of have to, so I can at least pretend that I have some level of income. So start with other things before we get to the primary Iran war stuff while we wait for people to show up. So for anyone who is already here, shifting of stuff along the Ukraine front line, as for a while, Ukraine's FPV, the smaller drones and stuff, were predominantly concentrated on striking actual Russian personnel and Russian infantry and occasionally armored vehicles when they tried assaults. They were only really hitting, like, on average, one air defense system per week for the last number of months or so. But all of a sudden, roughly around the most active area of the front, the southern Donbass portion, they suddenly started striking every air defense system they could find, with the count being up to 18 as of right now. So, since the direction of things being pushed had shifted over the last month or two, anyways, that particular uptick or concentration of targets probably is indicating that they're going to try putting a little bit more effort into pushing back eastward. If they're trying to take down every AD system in sight, then that's probably because they intend to bring in some degree of actual close air support for frontline strikes, which would imply that they intend to try to push a little bit further or a little bit faster than they are currently doing. I think that was the only major thing outside of all of this, which is the main topic at hand. We have anybody yet? One, five, five people, one person who's alive. Okay, so let's see. Last stream was on Friday. Yeah, stuff, and they had just struck Azerbaijan, who swore to get vengeance and has been hyper mobilizing and moving the majority of their military towards the Iranian border. Azerbaijan has not specifically done anything other than that yet, but we'll see. And ground equipment has constantly been getting driven in trailer trains or convoys up to Kurdistan. So don't know if that is really actually going to turn into something. Might just be a psyop angle, but we'll see. In the meantime, a bit of a split came between U.S. and IDF over IDF striking like every single tank in every single oil depot around Tehran, which caused the city to be completely enveloped in like blackout levels of black smog and toxic semi-flaming oil rain. I think go back down. That was a couple days ago, so you go back down. Ah, and my jaw just cracked out. Oh yeah, there was the storm drains in Tehran catching fire because flaming oil was spilling out into them from uh, the the wrecked, the heavily bombed oil depots. There's stuff burning in the distance. Where's the that is yeah, that's some of the stuff while it was burning. That's while it was, or one of them was burning. Where's the daytime one? Yeah, there's the daytime one. So Tehran turned into this. That kind of caused a behind the scenes schism between the US and the IDF because they weren't supposed to do that, but the IDF just kind of did it anyways. They tend to just do whatever anyways, and it's not like we're going to actually punish them or anything. I mean, the whole Palestinian body count should kind of serve as evidence to that at this point. The airstrikes have continued all over the place. The only place really out of range that's been safe is like the northeastern quarter of the country. The amount of the well, sorry, amount of remaining the amount of remaining missile erector launcher vehicles is down to in theory estimates of between 100 and 150, and that has become visible in the actual reduced amount getting launched every day. That is now down to 25, I believe it was, over the last few hours, versus 350 ballistic missiles, which were launched on day one of the conflict. Go all the way back up to the top, all the way back up to the top. There we go. So yeah, the number of recorded ballistic missile launches was 350 on day one, and went as the launchers themselves kept getting eliminated, and as they burned through their stock of missiles, kept going down. Got down to 30. Yesterday, they did manage to get 55 out, but then today, or technically the last 24 hours, they only managed to throw up 25. And they were managing to creep back up in drone numbers, but over the last 24 hours, that dropped back down to below the previous low point of 100, dropping down to only 55 Shaheeds that they launched during the previous 24 hours versus day one of their retaliation strikes. They got off 800 Shaheed launches. Oh no, that's a separate page. Okay. So now you X out of that. And within Iran, the various estimates as of the moment are roughly between 900 and 1,000 military casualties, most of which are within the Revolutionary Guard or the True Believers military, because they have two separate militaries, uh, like like in many similarly styled countries, regardless of what the particular ideology or belief system is. But like how the SS and the Wehrmacht were different things, and people mistake like the SS and the Gestapo. The SS was a like military organization. It wasn't the secret police part. It was like a separate military within the military that was explicitly comprised or recruited from true believers, quote unquote. So Revolutionary Guard is like that. Similarly, will be any military organization that's labeled the Revolutionary Guard in most countries whose identity revolves around some kind of revolution. Uh, yeah, roughly 900 to 1,000 military personnel and roughly 1,300 random Iranian civilians and a couple hundred members of government, ranging from the actual like various levels of leadership that were taken out in the different decapitation strikes to the like uh I don't know what do they have? Iran has a parliament, right? They call theirs a parliament, not a senate, I think. To like parliament members and just kind of random like department heads and stuff. The Trump was given like a kind of ridiculous blowhard speech about how 51 Iranian naval vessels have been sunk. That the Iranian Navy didn't have 51 naval warships. You can get that number if you include all their various like little shore uh, inflatable patrol boats and like the tugboats that maneuver the actual frigates into the docks or into the harbor. So in theory, if you like sunk all of their tugboats, then you could get that number, but they did not have that actual number of naval like combat vessels to begin with. So that was from his speech at his golf palace tonight in Florida, where he was quite literally just making crap up. Let's see. Well, let me check chat first of all. Uh yeah. I'm trying to think of the quote. Like I said, I'm really tired, so I can't. This is going to be a shorter stream, and I also can't manage to try my attempt at a Trump voice. But he said something like it was very epically bigly uh, nearly complete or something along those lines. But so those are the casualties in that regard. Elsewhere, over here on this end, we're going counterclockwise. The IDF continues bombing apartment buildings in Beirut because they're bored. We're getting close to roughly 500 random Lebanese civilians that have been killed in all this. They are now confirmed on the ground. They are invading the southern strip of Lebanon again after having done so in 2024. They're now invading it again, and they have gotten into various firefights with different pockets of Hezbollah here and there in the hills or the mountains. I'm sorry, they're just hills. I apologize to Israelis, Lebanese, Syrians, everybody. But you know, the whole thing of me being from Alaska, my standard for what a mountain is a bit high, and these things here are they're hills, they're not mountains. So in the hills, they've been getting into firefights with pockets of Hezbollah here and there. Uh, somewhere between somewhere between 12 and 18 uh, IDF ground troops killed, between 100 and 200 Hezbollah. Uncertain, as they've kind of just moved on, haven't like gone around counting the bodies, and also Hezbollah won't post like a high death toll. They usually will do like occasionally a few pictures with a big big post about something something martyrdom. Uh, they've also, while no one's been looking, they've gone back into Gaza and have been flattening stuff in the northern portion of Gaza. You know, not so covertly, just flattening and bulldozing stuff. Kind of not really. If anyone, after they've said they're going to do it like 50 billion times now, if anyone was really still doubting that they're just going to annex it and doing expulsion, ethnic cleansing after the hundreds of thousands of dead, that portion of the ethnic cleansing that has already been played through, they are, letting it be even more visible to you by the fact that they're now just kind of bulldozing everything, since everybody else is rather distracted with the other stuff that's going on. Technically, 10 U.S. Military personnel are dead. Officially, it's only 9 quote unquote combat deaths, because the 10th was a guy who had he was a on the higher enlisted ranking. He was like a master sergeant in the army, I think. So he was like 45 or whatever, and he was starting to get a lung condition, and it got exacerbated and triggered by the smoke at one of the bases after a few ballistic missiles had hit, and that like triggered his lung condition. So he ended up dying of lung failure. So that was written off as not a quote unquote combat death, because he didn't like die in the explosion from the missile like the 8 people in Kuwait did. But on the Maxogear counter, that counts as number 10, because he literally would not have died if he had not been deployed to that base. So that kind of counts. Or even if he had been at the base and the war had not started, he would not have died. So that kind of counts as a war related death. Uh, the UAE has actually suffered 2 casualties in a small military helicopter, because they've been using those to swivel around offshore and shoot down Shahed drones with the chain gun, the M134 or M137. I should make sure I actually just get that correct from now on. Let's see. Okay, M134. If it's immediately pulling that up, I'm just going to take it. So with the M134 and on the side door of the helicopters, uh, one of their helicopters ended up going through engine failure and crashed, and two of the three crew on board died in the crash. I don't know whether specifically it was the 2 pilots and the door gunner survived, or whether it was one pilot and the door gunner who died while the other pilot survived. I don't know. We're at around, if I remember correctly, 24 random civilians in Israel have gotten killed by ballistic missile impacts, just like smashing into random intersections around Tel Aviv. Kuwait is now, I think, around 10 random Kuwaiti citizens have been killed. And the UAE is, if I remember correctly, I think they're still at only 3 or 4, all of which they don't really care about, because they were the uh, totally not slave labor force that Dubai employs at the luxury hotels. So they're the Emirati government isn't exactly crying over them, but they're dead. I think Bahrain is up to like 8 random citizens, and Bahrain is also about to potentially suffer a domestic fuel crunch, even if only temporarily, as their basically only real refinery of size got hit a few times. The whole thing was not taken out, but it's probably only going to be able to operate at like 10 to 20% of its normal capacity. Uh, you think, if I'm forgetting about anything specific, more factories were also struck. Uh, different different components of the different component manufacturing plants in Iran for different stuff related to their missiles and drones. The situation is beginning to get alleviated by a margin, not completely, just by a margin, as normally, in terms of exports, uh, it's about it's about 17 million barrels a day that leaves the Persian Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz. Saudi Arabia has activated their contingency Red Sea export port. Let me just draw a bunch of random pipelines to their different oil fields and stuff. And I will give them some credit. This is the first and probably only time you're going to hear me giving Saudi Arabia any credit. They actually did expand the capacity beyond what I originally remember it being. So apparently, while I wasn't looking, they actually brought this up to a point where it can get between 4.5 and 5 million barrels out. Technically, the pipeline could handle up to 7 million, but the amount of offloading infrastructure at the terminal, the amount of oil tankers that can be there and get loaded up, only amounts to being able to get about 5 million barrels per day out. But they are all constantly, for the last several days, they have all been constantly full, and tankers have been going and then immediately getting replaced by a new empty one filling up and going. So that is roughly 5 million barrels per day that is now able to get out via Western Saudi Arabia. So that puts the deficit down to 12, and also roughly 1 million barrels per day is able to leave from the contingency terminal out on the eastern coast of the UAE, which they said they were going to expand. But apparently, unlike Saudi Arabia, they did not actually follow through on that. So Saudi Arabia is actually going to gain credibility from me for once. UAE is going to lose credibility. And so that would bring the deficit down to 11, uh, plus or minus, because you can also factor in the fact that the world was technically in surplus because OPEC was overproducing for the sake of driving prices down. But you can take it as either 11 or 10, whichever you prefer. And now uh, we're back up to, after it was down to only a couple 100,000, we're back up to roughly 1 million barrels per day making it out via the brilliant tactic that was kind of instantly thought of just the ships all group up, they plaster together around here, and they permanently set their transponder. They just rig their transponder to say that they're just sitting right there offshore of Dubai, and then they just gun it through the strait in the darkness under cover of night. With like all their ship lights off and everything. They go like full dark. So for the sake of not uh, bumping into other ships, they have to keep that well spaced out and really thin. So that's why not that much is getting through that way, but that is another million. So the actual total deficit is now either 10 million or 9 million barrels per day from the markets, depending on your preference, because of the fact that the market was in surplus because of OPEC's overproduction. So it is no longer the immediate civilization's about to implode on itself deal that it was it was foresought to be a few days ago. But that is still a rather massive deficit. And although the drone numbers are coming down, they're down to, as of the last 24 hours, only 55 were launched during that time. The shipping companies, like I said, they already indicated they're not going to go full resumption of normal traffic rates or like going through the strait during the daytime until that number is like really low. So I would assume, I mean, the fact that it's now this low is why they're willing to start doing the the silent run, lights off, dark run at night portion. Once it's like down to like maybe only a dozen launches a day, is when they'll probably start picking that up and like maybe going in a bit more than just one or two dashing it at a time. But we'll see how that conducts itself as things go forward. Let me drink some water before I actually pay attention to you guys. Okay. Let's see. Uh, uh, Shia, no, not Kuwait. If the Shia thing you might be thinking of is Bahrain, because the huge chunk of the native population of Bahrain, because remember, like Qatar, like Dubai, Bahrain is a luxury paradise, quote unquote, that runs off of what is literally just a legal workaround for slave labor that they import from India and Pakistan. The actual Bahraini population, which is only, I think, like 100 or 200,000 out of the like 1.2 million people on the island, only like that 200,000 are Bahrainis. The others are all imported workers. Uh, Most of them are Shia, but the ruling royal family, whether uh, don't blame me for just having them all blurred together, whether it's a crown prince or whether they call theirs a sultan or an emir. The ruling royal family of Bahrain is Sunni, as most of the installed royal families are, because somebody over here, a rather large country to the west of them, had a pretty big say in that because they don't want the Shia populations to the east of them to actually be in control of any large amounts of resources or potentially allowing other oppositional Shia countries to like be positioning militaries there. So the royal family of Bahrain is Sunni, but the population of Bahrain is apparently mostly Shia. And supposedly, this is not confirmed as of the moment, but supposedly the royal family has secretly left Bahrain out of precaution since the the ports are kind of on fire and the refineries are on fire. So there's going to be probably a bit of local breakdown, and they were getting spooked of potentially getting killed in a localized Shia uprising. So they have purportedly fled to Riyadh. Uh, Not like 100% confirmed, but that would not be out of character and would and purely logically that would be the smarter move. If you are actually convinced that something like that's going to happen. uh, Kuwait, no. Iraq, maybe. Iraq is like actually split down the middle. It's like, for one, obviously you have the Kurds up north, which is, what the heck is that? I don't want to I need the marker, not the highlighter. You have the Kurds up north, but then in the rest of the country, it's split into Shia and Sunni, and they're not like nicely split into two halves. They are just kind of like actually mixed in together. So if, as like a retaliation, Iran tries to ferment a Shia uprising in Iraq, that would not have a like front line, quote unquote. That would just be complete and utter anarchy. Let's see. May think if I'm forgetting anything related to all this at least. Uh, they did launch more stuff at Turkey, which is getting Turkey kind of pissed. So as Turkey is out of the conditions, so like Azerbaijan was literally doing nothing. So they're already really pissed, and they were already starting to do the whole border mashup thing. But out of the like conditional stipulations, Iran put that it wouldn't attack any of its Gulf neighbors or Middle East neighbors if, as long as they weren't letting the U.S. launch strikes from their territory. All the others, like we are launching stuff from all the others, but Turkey is the one exception. Like there is a U.S. military base in Turkey, but we're not using it. Like it's not being used in this conflict. So they were the only one on the list of U.S. allies in the region who was not actually participating in some active way. But they're still getting launched at. So now they're starting to get ticked off. And the only ones that have not had anything launched at them yet. Now that I say this, since I said that about Azerbaijan last time, this will probably happen like a few hours after I end the stream tonight. Are those on their east: Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. So now that I've said that, probably as soon as the stream ends, there's going to be some random Shahed drones getting sent to one of those. Uh, I still feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, yeah. Oil markets. Really unintelligent. So, although the deficit being cut in half would be enough to justify not jumping up to $200 a barrel, that's not enough to justify dropping back down into the 80s. They're running off of the announcement that several larger nations with larger like inventories are considering doing large market scale releases for a couple weeks to fill the seaborne shipment deficit. But that's still, for one, in consideration, even though they're probably going to do it. But uh, that's not a long-term stopgap because no one has really actually held on to enough. The only exceptions of people who've like held on to enough to be like worth something are Nederland over there and Japan, especially comparative to size, comparative to like domestic production levels. They're the only two that have like ones that are like really worthwhile. China's inventories have ballooned upwards recently, but that has predominantly been from them up until this started over importing by like an extra million or two barrels per day since early summer of last year to try to shore up their inventories before doing Taiwan, because they don't want to take the risk of prolonged cutoffs and everything. Uh, Let me scroll through. Was oh yeah, I forgot. Not part of the Iran conflict, but uh, stuff continuing in Niger this time as the Sahel bloc countries are continuing with their gradually degrading security situation now that they're completely on their own. They're continuing to see their like grip on the country around them collapse bit by bit, getting taken in Niger's case by African ISIS. In Mali's case, it's a multifaceted coalition of Al Qaeda, African ISIS, and previously the Tuareg separatists in the north. But the Tuareg separatists are only interested in the Tuareg region. So they kind of have mostly control over that now. So that's like where their interests end. So down south, it's just Al Qaeda and African ISIS fighting against the Malian government. In Burkina Faso, it's kind of scattered all over the place. And in Niger, it's been around. Where is it's the actual town of Tahua? There it is. It's been primarily in the hills around Tahua and now in the actual town slash quote unquote city of Tahua itself. So that area risks falling, in which case Nigerian government will be cut off basically from the bigger portion of the country where all of the important stuff that it makes its money off of is. And you'll then be looking at Niamey getting potentially attacked at some point in future months. So keep an eye on that situation as well as that continues its downward spiral. Still feel like there was one other thing. Blah blah blah. Stuff. Yeah, stuff got blown up. That was just random dudes on. That was just the crew of an oil tanker recording F-18s landing. Blah blah. Azerbaijan condemns Turkey. Total Reapers down is 11, and The other main stuff that's gone down is the Israeli surveillance drones, because they've predominantly been doing surveillance drones. We're the only ones that have actually sent armed drones. They've been doing most of their stuff predominantly from manned aircraft, but they've had a bunch of Heron and Hermes drones over, and Iran actually is pretty good at downing those. I still feel like I'm forgetting something. Uh, random scrolling. Random scrolling. This is stuff. Already got all the most of this is just footage of the different oil depots and stuff burning. Stuff that's Russia Ukraine stuff. That's all the or most of it is the air defense stuff that I was already talking about. Footage from Tel Aviv. Footage from Tel Aviv. Still no specific decision about sending in uh, ground teams to the enriched uranium bunker. That's kind of that is a pretty like zero IQ misdirect, anyways. Though, because like what are you gonna do? Are they gonna uh, are you trying to convince people you're gonna like fly in there off board from the helicopter and like run around in like big clunky hazmat suits and like grab a bunch of highly radioactive rubble and dust and like what load it back onto the helicopter. So that from the very beginning that was a pretty zero IQ like misdirect attempt. Unknown whether it actually was related to the Iran stuff, but someone made a someone called in and made a bomb threat to the Kansas City airport, so it shut down for a while. Uh, something like that actually happened while I was in the airport after flying back down from West Virginia. While I was uh, in Atlanta Airport, because there are no direct flights from West Virginia to Charleston. There's almost no flights from West Virginia to anywhere because that would imply flights to West Virginia, and nobody wants to go to West Virginia. Uh, what could I compare it to? West Virginia is like as a state as opposed to a single like metro area. West Virginia is like the Chelyabinsk of the U.S. A lot of people try to say it's Detroit, but Detroit is nice and beautiful compared to West Virginia. Uh, the but yeah, something like that actually happened at the Atlanta airport. However, thankfully, the TSA at the Atlanta airport uh, don't just take random random nobody likely to be prank bomb calls and just hit the panic button instantaneously. And especially in the case of Atlanta, because there's a 250,000 people in that airport at any given time. So if every time like a middle schooler called in to make a bomb threat and shout in a comedian Middle Eastern accent and shout like Allahu Akbar into the phone or something, if they did that every time, they would be trying to herd out and herd back in 250,000 people in and out of that airport at any given moment. So, luckily, that's not what they do. They actually uh, try to look into the credibility of the threat, which is basically always zero. But the alarm was sounding, and some of the security guys did run around and were checking stuff while we were standing there waiting for my flight over back to Charleston to start boarding. But unknown whether that's actually related or whether it is the usual, like somewhat mentally ill slash just people who think it's funny calling it in or getting the idea to call it in now because the Iran situation is going on. And they usually don't get ideas unless something like sparks their singular brain cell to work. Okay. Oh, yeah, so back in my, completely unrelated, but that did remind me, back in middle school, in well, which grade was I in specifically? Eight, grade eight, the last grade before high school, in the American system at least. Uh, the school was evacuated one afternoon because someone, uh, in crap in their presumably their own human feces, uh, like took their crap out of the toilet and went onto like the wall in the hallway and like painted bomb with an exclamation point also in giant letters on the hallway in their own fecal matter. And so because of that, they evacuated us one afternoon. And presumably, to give them the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to assume maybe 10% of it was health motivated also because they didn't want us to go back in there while there was actual human crap smeared on the wall. But some one of my at the time fellow 13 or 14-year olds thought that would be funny, so they did it. uh, Sudan, uh, Sudan might be shifting again. So the government, since you asked, the government had been pushing back the RSF, but Saudi Arabia and the UAE, each one of whom was backing one of the two opposing sides, have kind of stopped sending them stuff for the moment because they're, more concerned about the Iran war. So now, for the moment, at least I would say for like, we'll say the next month or two, these two parties are completely on their own. So now it could go either direction because they only started suddenly sweeping the RSF because Saudi Arabia started just pumping them full of stuff. But now they're at least temporarily cut off, both sides. So that front line might fluctuate back and forth now. Something on my screen. Okay, got rid of that. And yeah, I saw that. The desalination comment. Uh, the UAE did bomb a desalination plant on the southern Iranian coast. If I remember correctly, it was somewhere near Bandar Abbas. Uh, and I mean, it was the UAE. Everyone saw the saw UAE F-16s head out that way, loaded with guided munitions, and they came back empty. And when they came back, sometime during the time when they were gone and when they came back is when explosions happened at the desalination plant. The UAE insists it was not them and that they would never do such a thing, but they've done mass rapes and massacres elsewhere before. So bombing a desalination plant isn't, something that's off the table. Right, uh, there's very there's very few people I would confidently tell you that various types of war crimes are like off the table too. And most of those parties, I would only say that for the time being because they're not in any real position where they could commit them. But they hit the desalination plant there, which in Iran's case is it is bad, especially locally. It's not to like the same degree as like elsewhere, as Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, even Oman are all like really heavily reliant on desal, whereas Iran has rivers, gets rain, and also has their aquifers. Granted, those are rapidly approaching depletion. The first ones are going, like I said, are going to be bottoming out within like a year or two. So they're at the moment, at least, not that reliant on the desal. But on a local level around Bandar Abbas, that is a really big deal. Let's see, was there anything else? Uh, d- well, Trump wants a lot of things and says he wants a lot of things that those things then change the next second that he says something else. But also, you can't get everything you want now, can you? That's not how reality works. You can, like you can, if they make it from like a registered phone, it's pretty easy. If they do it from a quote unquote burner phone, it's a little harder, but they could still do it if the FBI felt compelled to put resources into it. But they usually don't because most of the time, like in Atlanta's case, we the most like legitimate airports, which does not include Kansas City. Most legitimate airports don't just panic button over every like 13-year-old calling in a bomb threat. And since a lot of times it tends to be a teenager doing it or a mentally ill person, the FBI doesn't tend to go hunting down every single phone call because there is a actual human resources limit. Although now we're entering in a uh, dangerous future where we might start be turning that over to AI, which nobody wants except for AI bros. But oh wait, speaking of that, I forgot. So in a place as water starved as the Middle East, and where power demand is so high because of the heat constantly, the UAE has actually become a place where they've started making AI data centers. And uh, one of the few targets that got hit today by the the small drone wave that came from Iran predominantly went to the UAE, and it hit the AI data centers. So there is like one actual positive outcome coming from the war right now is we might get like a 2% setback sucker punch to the AI cult for now. If the Revolutionary Guard or whoever launches the drones is listening, with whatever you have left, if you could like hit all of the AI data centers, that would be awesome. Uh, was there something with Egypt? I don't know. Let me Try some more aimless scrolling. It's just more explosion footage, the poison, toxic, uh, apocalypse, death cloud, stuff burning. Uh, oh yeah, a high-rise building got hit in Kuwait City. This time it wasn't a luxury hotel. This time it was the Social Security building, or you're probably initially thinking of Social Security in terms of how it's usually referenced, like old age pensions. In Kuwait's terms, though, that's also the agency that distributes the what's the term for it, the the stipend to Kuwaiti citizens, not anyone who lives in Kuwait, but only Kuwaiti citizens. The From the sovereign wealth fund off of all their oil money, Kuwaiti citizens get either monthly or annual large financial payouts. So that was that's not going to stop them from happening, but it was probably purposefully targeted for symbolic sake. Oh, this is eating my RAM having that open. I should close that. Uh, burning, burning stuff, burning stuff. Ah, yes. So the IDF really targetedly, like, precision munition through a specific hotel window, took out some Iranian dude who was meeting with some Hezbollah guys. Again, throwing the proof, to the world that you can do real, they're capable of doing really targeted through the window stuff. There's no actual need to just be leveling apartment complexes, but you know, it was a Hezbollah apartment complex, I guess. I think that's probably it. I've almost certainly been going for longer than I thought I would. Yeah, it's just more fire footage, and that's back to the 7th. That was Saturday. Oh yeah, stuff. Some of their like their actual combat aircraft were already gone. Uh, but in some of the strikes on uh, the airbase that shares the runway with the Tehran airport, their military's transport aircraft, their airlifters were also taken out. But that's not that like heavy of a thing though, because Iran didn't really use them, and half of them they couldn't really maintain anyways because would they would literally half of them were ours, half of them were Russian, and only one of those two, only the Russian ones, they could actually get like spare parts for to maintain. So the U.S. made half of their the transport aircraft they had. They couldn't actually continue operating anyways. But even the ones that they could, the IL-76s and stuff, they weren't really using them for anything. Uh, they're not they're not usually constantly like flying stuff around. So that was a lot more of a symbolic hit than anything. Uh, Runway craters, more stuff explodes. The oil depot's burning, etc., etc. Yeah. All right. I think that's probably going to be it, as I'm was feeling out of it to begin with, but I couldn't let myself go without actually doing something today. as I have to pretend like I actually work. Ah, I'll try, unless something comes up in chat, which I'll check in a second. But I'll try to get the oil production level or oil production levels video up soon. I've just been fighting with Brazil to try to get updated info out of them because they don't want to give it to me. And yeah, I think they're the only ones that were still giving me trouble. Let's see. Uh, no, nothing else, it would seem. Nope. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. That was over an hour. I was intending for half an hour. But, anyways, I will see you guys next time when I'm less tired. I'll give you 2 days of a break from listening to me. So I shouldn't be back on until Thursday, unless we get the asteroid in.